I've checked with the parliamentarian, and he's informed me that it is in order to give a bipartisan speech even today. And so I've got a speech that I think most members on both sides of the aisle can agree with most of. Been here 17 years, been working every day for the toughest Iranian sanctions that we could adopt. This House has passed bill after bill. The Senate passed about half of them. And over the last decade, several administrations have basically refused to enforce the Iran sanctions that passed both houses of Congress. Then, about 3 years ago, this administration started enforcing our sanctions laws. They unleashed the Treasury Department's Office of Terrorist Financing and Intelligence, TFI, and its Office of Foreign Asset Control, OFAC. TFI and OFAC are doing a great job. It's working. Yes, something the federal government is doing is working. Iran's supreme leader was forced to allow someone to run, one of his own insiders to run, on a reform platform, and the Iranian people voted for the most reform they were allowed to vote for. It is clear that Iran wants out of is willing to surrender critical parts of its nuclear weapons program, but only if we are very tough in sanctions negotiations. Let us remember why there is nothing more essential than preventing Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. Iran's supreme leader on his website today says the Holocaust is a myth and wants to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. Iranian troops are in Syria backing Assad. Iran is the #1 state sponsor of terrorism. Now imagine terrorism with impunity. There is nothing more essential than stopping Iran's nuclear program. In order to do that, we need more sanctions. Why? Because every day Iran develops ways to get around the sanctions program that we have. That's why we need to do a bit more, as they're undoing what we've already done. But what's really happening? TFI and OFAC are basically shut down. 90% furloughs. 70% of our intel community's civilian employees are on furlough. So what needs to happen? First, restaff TFI and OFAC. These are essential government functions. Second, pass a clean CR, because all aspects of our foreign policy, our national security operations, our intel operations are critical to keeping Americans safe from terrorism and stopping the Iranian nuclear program. And just as critical is our credibility worldwide to really be viewed as the leader of the world. So it's time to drop demands that everyone knows the Senate and the White House will never accept, and pass a clean CR. Third, it's time for the executive branch to use the statutory authority we've already given them. For example, they've designated about 24 Iranian banks as being banks cut off from the international system. It is time for them to designate all banks. And fourth, the Senate needs to pass a bill that passed on this floor by 400 votes last July, the Nuclear Iran Prevention Act. Staff the agencies, pass a clean CR, designate all the banks, pass and implement the Nuclear Iran Prevention Act, and we may just see a world safe from the Iranian nuclear weapons program. I yield back.
The Chair recognizes the gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Messer, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's a lot we disagree on around here. By now, virtually every American knows that we disagree on Obamacare. We ought not allow what divides us to stop us from coming together on issues where we all agree. There's nothing political about passing bills to help sick kids, or pay our troops, or open our national parks to help low-income, or bills to help low-income women and children. In recent days, the House has passed bipartisan bills to fund the areas of government like those I just discussed where we all agree. Each of these bills passed the House with dozens of votes from my Democratic colleagues. Each of these bills were unilaterally rejected by Senate Leader Harry Reid. The President has publicly declared that he will veto any of these bills if they reach his desk. Let me repeat, the House in recent days has passed bills to help sick children, pay our troops, open our national parks, and help low-income women and children. Dozens of my Democratic colleagues have voted for those bills, and the President and Harry Reid refused